In life, it is not always the great storms or the loud events that change the course of our future, but often the smallest of thoughts that pass quietly through our minds. One single decision, one moment of weakness, one choice made when no one else is watching can determine whether we rise toward blessings or fall into regret. Many people believe that it is the large actions that define who we are, yet time and again, it is the seemingly insignificant choices that truly reveal our character. Have you ever thought about how a person may live with honesty and discipline for many years, only to lose everything in a single moment of temptation? Or how one act of patience, which feels so heavy in the moment, may actually open a door to rewards greater than gold? This story will invite you to reflect on how fragile trust can be and why guarding our integrity is one of the most important responsibilities of life. Many years ago, in a quiet village surrounded by fields and cobblestone streets, there lived a shoemaker named David. His shop was small, hardly more than a wooden bench, a shelf of tools, and a window where the sunlight fell upon piles of worn boots and sandals. He was not wealthy, nor did he ever expect to be, but his neighbors respected him deeply because they knew that David was an honest man. Every day, he worked carefully on the shoes of farmers, travelers, and townsfolk. If the leather only needed a small stitch, he never tried to charge for a full repair. If he promised to finish by nightfall, he stayed up late, no matter how tired he was, to make sure his word was kept. His meals were plain, his clothes patched, and his life simple, yet he carried no shame in these things because he believed that the wealth of integrity was far more valuable than any coin. One evening, as David was preparing to close his shop, a traveler arrived. His face was weary, his clothes covered in dust from the long road, and his boots nearly falling apart from endless walking. "Good sir," the traveler said, placing the broken shoes on the counter. "Could you repair these tonight? I must continue my journey at sunrise." David inspected the boots carefully and replied, "Yes, they can be repaired, but it will take me many hours." The traveler nodded, reached into his pouch and pulled out a gold coin, brighter and heavier than anything David had ever held before. Placing it on the counter, the traveler said, "This is your payment in advance. I will return for the boots tomorrow morning." David's heart trembled at the sight of the coin. He had handled copper every day, sometimes silver, but gold was rare, almost magical. That single coin could buy him food for weeks, perhaps even new clothes or repairs for his little shop. After the traveler left, David set to work with extra care, stitching the seams, polishing the leather, and shaping the soles until the boots looked nearly new. He finished just before dawn and placed them neatly on the counter, ready to be returned. The morning came, yet the traveler did not arrive. David waited the entire day, glancing at the door every time someone passed by, but the boots remained untouched. Another day went by, then another, and still there was no sign of the traveler. The gold coin sat on the shelf, gleaming with temptation. David's mind began to turn against him. Perhaps the man had forgotten, perhaps he had chosen another road, or perhaps he had died along the way. If he does not return, David thought, then surely the boots and the coin are mine. After all, I did the work, and I waited faithfully. Still, a quieter voice within him whispered differently. The boots are not yours, and neither is the coin. You were paid, yes, but the work is not complete until the man returns to collect what is his. This battle between voices continued every day as David struggled with hunger, weariness, and longing. At night, he lay awake staring at the coin, imagining warm bread on his table, stronger shoes on his feet, and a roof repaired against the rain. And yet he also remembered the pride he felt in being known as a man of integrity. The weeks stretched into months, and people in the town began to tease him. Why wait any longer? They laughed. The man is never coming back. Sell the boots, keep the coin, and move on with your life. David forced himself to smile, but deep inside the temptation grew heavier with each passing day. At last, one cold morning, David stood in his shop, holding the coin in his trembling hand. He told himself, "I have waited long enough. The traveler is gone, and this coin can change my life. Surely no one will blame me for keeping it now." His heart ached, but at last he placed the coin into his pocket, and with that small decision, his fate was sealed. That evening, just as the sun was sinking beyond the hills, the shop door opened. To David's shock, the traveler stepped inside. His face was calm, his eyes steady, and his boots still polished on the counter. "Good evening, David," he said gently. "I have come to collect what is mine." David felt his heart collapse in his chest. With shaking hands, he reached into his pocket, pulled out the coin, and placed it on the counter beside the boots. "Forgive me," he whispered. "I thought you would never return." The traveler studied him silently, then spoke with words that struck David deeper than any blade. "That coin was never meant as payment for your work. It was a test of your honesty. I am not merely a traveler. I am a messenger of the king, and the king has been searching for a man pure enough to oversee his treasury." "I thought you might be that man." He paused, his expression heavy with disappointment. "But today you chose to break the trust you were given. You allowed one moment of greed to outweigh a lifetime of honesty. I am sorry, David, but you are not the one we were searching for." The traveler gathered his boots, placed the coin back into his pouch, and walked out of the shop without looking back. David sank onto his bench, covering his face with his hands, realizing in despair that he had lost everything, not because of poverty, not because of bad fortune, but because of one single thought that grew into a choice he could not undo. This story reminds us that integrity is worth more than any gold. We may live honestly for many years, but one poor decision can erase that trust in an instant. The choices that seem so small, whether to wait or to hurry, whether to keep our word or betray it, whether to stand firm or give in, these are the choices that shape our destiny. David was not a wicked man, but he allowed a single moment of weakness to define the rest of his life. In our lives, the test may not be a gold coin or a forgotten pair of boots, but it may come in the form of a chance to lie when the truth feels inconvenient, or to take what is not ours when no one is watching, or to give in to impatience when patience is needed most. In such moments, the world may never know what we decide, but our future always will. So remember, honesty is not measured in the eyes of others, but in the silence of our own hearts. When temptation whispers, remain steady. When patience feels unbearable, endure it a little longer. For a single honest choice can open doors you never imagined, while a dishonest one can close them forever. Live each day with honesty, patience, and gratitude, and guard your integrity as if it were the most precious treasure you possess, because in truth, it is.